Welcome back to Small Teams, Big Wins, the show where we talk with founders, operators, creators, tacticians, people who are wearing all the hats, entrepreneurs, and most importantly, building things that matter. Our guest today is Lenore Gregson. She founded Kaiser Medical, a San Antonio-based company on the podcast in the repertoire. Let's go. And Lenore, it was cool to talk with you because we love hearing about how wellness services are just kind of reevaluating and redefining, especially how that approach to reaching corporate teams, but also individuals as well. So for anyone that's trying to build high trust in a low trust world, where we're trying to keep client data safe, or figuring out how to pivot your business model without losing your mission, boom, we're going to talk with Lenore today.
Absolutely.
So thank you again, Lenore, for taking the time this morning to join us. So Lenore, it's the podcast is Small Teams, Big Wins, right? And while we do love hearing about the wins, we also love hearing about the origin story and some of the beginnings, and maybe where there wasn't as many wins as there is now. So what inspired you to start Kaiser Medical? And can you maybe just kind of tell us a little bit about if there was, what that kind of the personal why was behind you kind of going towards Kaiser?
Well, I was married to a doctor at the time, so he had just opened up his practice. And so one of the entities, there was three entities of the corporation, and one of them was Kaiser Medical Management. So I basically took that one and created the marketing aspect for the doctors in the office to market their practice. And so I used it as that platform. And so it was a lot of knocking on doors and just driving up to a company, walking in and asking to talk to the HR and hoping that they'll talk to me and making phone calls. The nice thing is that my last name at the time was Kaiser. So for whatever reason, they connected me with California Kaiser. So people would actually talk to me. They thought I was Kaiser in California.
Nice. This is totally off subject, but I always think of Kaiser Sose from what's the one with it's like the famous like heist movie. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? That's okay.
No idea,
That's all right.
actually.
That's all right. It's not important. I'm gonna send this as a follow-up to both of you though, so I'm not crazy. But sounds good. Well, and so Lenore, when did you kind of take over the marketing for Kaiser Medical and kind of start making that?
That was like in 1997.
So that's my point, right? So now the whole marketing landscape has changed eternally, right? And because we work a lot with like the medical health wellness. Like I said, it's very, both me and Darien try and incorporate just a lot of like kind of healing, rejuvenative practices in our day to day. We both kind of grew up as athletes. And so I know for me, like the most important part of my day is actually whenever I can take a step away, go wiggle a little bit, get some exercise. And I do feel like that's such an important thing for everyone to realize in their life. And so we've always wanted to be like, okay, so we're, technical designers, engineers over here at Naptic. How can we take what we're good at and help people that are helping other people to realize similar types of stuff? And I've always seen with doctors' offices that I think on some of the marketing side of stuff that they're lacking and they don't really understand, but it's obviously, a huge need.
They're taught how to be
in general. So
they're taught how to be a doctor. They're not taught how to run a business. They're not taught how to market. So they don't have that aspect of it.
Well, and back so you're talking in the 90s, right? And so, can you just kind of walk me through a little bit of like, wow, like what were some learning points from there? And then now, as you've kind of been doing this for a while and you've seen the kind of like marketing shift, I don't know, do you just kind of have any like commentary on on some of that stuff. It's kind of a totally different.
That is. When I started, basically, really all I was wanting the company to say yes to was a wellness lecture. And they were like, you're going to have a doctor come and talk to us for an hour about, whatever. And I said, yes. And then as I got some of their trust, they would refer me to other companies. And then a company would say, well, do you do this? And my answer was always yes. And even though I had no idea what they were talking about, I would go
Right.
back to the office and figure it out. And then it grew from wellness lectures to health fairs, and from health fairs to blood work, and from blood work to flea shots, from flea shots to vitamin shots, from vitamin shots to corporate massage days. And it just kind of kept adding on to it because they kept asking for different services. And I would never say no. I would always say yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I guess now that's the old school word of mouth. There's still no going to be beating that old school word of mouth. Darien, I'm curious in your previous line of work, not necessarily as much what you do anymore on the wedding venue side of stuff. How much kind of marketing and different things did you guys do, or because you had already been a family establishment within the area, and did enough people know, did you guys kind of follow a similar type of growth where it was like, well, we've actually been in and most of the marketing is going to be personal relationships, word of mouth, that kind of stuff. And then now as it evolved kind of later into where like marketing kind of started making a shift, a little bit, that you didn't really almost need it at that point, right? Because you're already so established in it. Any
Yeah.
similar?
Yeah. So we were kind of an anomaly in some sort of aspect, because what happened was our first wedding venue was a wedding venue that was kind of one of the first in the downtown area. So that was kind of, it was just word of mouth. Everyone knew about it. It just kept feeding into each other. And then it just rolled into it being the place to go. And that it was a family owned business, it was helpful. And then when we moved into our second location, we that was also an anomaly too, because the second location was, I would say, from experience, we built it based on, from our experience. And because of that, ended up being the best wedding venue in, some could say in Western North Carolina, some could say further, for many different reasons. So at that point, we didn't have to do any marketing. And we literally just had it on two websites, the most known websites, the Knot and Wedding Wire. And besides that, it was, doing 100+ weddings a year, and all of the weddings that we had, it was just constant marketing from the photographer, from the DJ. There's like 12 vendors or so that go into a wedding, into a specific
100%.
wedding. Everyone's pushing out this content for you. And yeah, so we kind of got lucky. I think going back to never saying no, I do want to touch on that, because this can be this. I'm just kind of interested in where some of the learning, some of the negative aspects of that came from never saying no, and what you learned from it. And also the positive things are kind of already spoken for, in the sense of, you continue to grow your business, right? You just figured out ways. You were resilient in that sort of sense. So I'm curious on how the never saying no helped shape, one, maybe your character, two, the on the spot thinking and the ingenuity that you had to take place throughout this time frame, and then what you learned from it.
I guess you're assuming talking to me. There's only been one real like growth, kind of like I had a little boo-boo growth, which was with a grocery store, a big grocery store, which I'm sure that you're all familiar with if you're in Texas. But they were one of my clients, and they asked me to do mini health fairs at their pharmacy area on a Saturday. and which is fine. But they had so many locations throughout Texas that it- they they started off with allowing me to just do so many, but then they wanted all of them to be done all at the same Saturday, all at the same time. And
Ooh.
me being a small business growing, I couldn't accommodate their request, and nobody could, and absolutely nobody could, not even the biggest. Even if at the time there was not even another person like me that did anything like that, but there would be nobody that would be able to do that for that big of a grocery chain. And so I had to bow out of that contract.
Right. Yeah, and that grocery store is a huge one. I'm sure. How many? Do you remember how many locations they were wanting you to?
Oh gosh, like I don't know, over 400 or some crazy amount. But
Yeah, it was like, it's crazy.
That's wild. Yeah, there's as far as like never saying no, I love the approach to that, because it also helps challenge you and takes you into different areas and ways of thinking that either has to be quick, creative, out of the box. And as entrepreneurs, that's just a part of that's just a part of the genes that whether you're born with it or not, or whether you grow to have them, that just comes with the territory of being an entrepreneur. And so finding yourself in these places and getting yourself out of them, it just speaks a lot about, what you're willing to put into the business. And so it's super fascinating as to what, people can do. It's awesome. It's awesome. You put yourself in a position and you get yourself, you grow from it. And I think that's one of the great things to do, not living in that comfortable zone, so to speak.
oh, exactly. Well, it'd be like somebody asking you to do like 20 weddings on one day. It's-
Yeah, all at the same venue.
Yeah.
But no, what I love about always saying yes is like, I don't know, it's kind of a double-edged sword with me, actually. I don't always like it. Sometimes I'm better if I say no, but I'm always going to say yes. But like, I'm always thinking from like an engineer perspective, right? Where my constant evolution is to like have like this quality service, right? And if you have a quality service, it means you do several things really, really well that are right in line with the needs of your target audience. But it's like, the more custom work you take on over time, it can get to that productized service and you can start doing more, right? And your capabilities expand. But it takes time and effort to take custom to get to productized service.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you have to say yes to new stuff to get custom, to build it, to expand out your pipeline. But it's this constant, for me, it's this constant balance of like, okay, like we can't like do new stuff right now. We just need to like get this down to where it's like flipping burgers. And then once we get this to flipping burgers, now we can train people, and then now that can run itself. And then now we can take on new custom work to create and expand our offerings and get things to a productized service, because that's ultimately where things happen, right?
Yeah.
Is that,
I mean,
have y'all experienced that?
yeah, every time that we add a new service, there's I, yes and no with growing pains, but it's a learning process. Right now, we're going through another quote growth with we're adding peptide therapy to our genre, and so we have the compound department that's having to build relationships with third party um, labs so that we get a third party testing to make sure that everything's in the up and up. And so it's interesting. I'm learning a lot of new stuff as far as that's concerned. But it's every time we add something, there is a bit of a tweaking that has to go through.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the fun part too. And a lot of the times, or I guess, like one could argue that at the very beginning of a business, never saying no is the perfect approach, right? You know, you're just figuring out your clientele starts to develop your identity as a business, and you kind of just shift with it, and then once that's identified, you've built out that foundation, and then it becomes a more calculated, never saying no approach as well. And yeah, I think that's cool. I think it's really a really fun space to be in, and yeah, the businesses are constantly growing, ever changing, and yeah, each layer that you add on, puts 100 meters of depth into that one layer. So it's fun, it's exciting, I know, and it brings out the best of us, no doubt.
Oh yeah, when somebody asks you for a service, more than likely, there's probably 10 other people that are interested in it, but just never asked you. So when you're able to say, I also provide this, they're like, oh, great, we were looking for that. And so it's like, okay,
Yep.
it works out.
Love it. So guys, I want to take this to a very favorable and exciting direction, at least for me personally, because we're going to bring in some cybersecurity. We're going to bring in some cybersecurity into the conversation. Because Lenore, whenever we were talking previously, I found it very interesting that companies are increasingly avoiding like insurance-based wellness.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's starting to become a little bit more widely known, and just some awareness is being brought to it about like data is the new currency, right? And so how your health data gets used is something you should be aware of, right? And something that you should be thinking about in your.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that what they're doing when they sign a piece of paper.
So when for you, like what clicked when you realized, okay, it wasn't just like a service problem, like this is like a data problem, and I want to come in and we want to uphold kind of our data and integrity to a high standard. When did that kind of realization happen for you? Because data wasn't as big of a thing back in the 90s, right? It's like you're not just going stuff and people are collecting, and then all of a sudden you can just start selling it, left and right. So yeah, I'm just curious what that kind of.
Well, I mean, it's it's no different than Facebook or any social media out there. They're collecting data, but and they're using that data to sell companies on being able to market to you. And what ended up happening was when I started the business, there was no. When people, I would tell them that we would have doctors go and do different stuff on site. They looked at me like, I was a unicorn, because they're like, I don't get why doctors would come out of their office. And so the now either, you could probably Google companies like mine and find them, but insurance companies started stating that they basically started saying that they have to be able to sell their insurance to the companies through the brokers. They would say, we're going to provide free cholesterol screenings, free glucose screenings, free anything that would get stats from the about the employees. And the employer was being sold by the broker on this aspect, saying, you're going to get all this for free just for saying yes to this insurance and using their insurance. And so the employer was thinking, wow, this is great, because they were selling them on the aspect of keeping their employees healthy. But at the same time, they weren't being told that data was the insurance company's data. So the minute that the insurance companies has that data, they know everything about your employee base. So they know who has cancer, they know who has diabetes, they know who's overweight, who's obese, who's taking blood pressure, who's blah blah blah. So the following year, when they renew and they see the complete increase on their insurance policies, and they get mad and want to change from one insurance to another, that insurance company then says, this data is ours. You can't take it with you. So you're going to have to start from scratch with another insurance company on your wellness program. And unfortunately, because they own that data, they can sell that data to the other insurance companies.
Which is wild.
What ended up, what, I guess, yeah, wow, that's a mouthful there. It kind of, it's interesting because, yeah, you kind of just hogtie these businesses, in a, you have the approach to that is, doesn't sound ethical, but you get where people can come from with for money. That's, that's kind of where money
Well,
takes you.
we all know that when they say free, nothing's free in this world. So nothing is. Just like, when they say government's paying for this and that. No, we are. We're paying for that. So the same thing with that whole insurance aspect of it. They sell it on based on it being free or an added bonus, but it's really not.
And so Kaiser fitting into that kind of problem statement, right? That we fit in. How does Kaiser come in and kind of help alleviate that type of situation in the future?
Well, when the thing is that when insurance would sell their program to companies through the brokers, the insurance companies don't do blood work. They don't do, all the on-site health services. So they contract that type of service out. And of course, we were one of the companies that they would ask, want a contract. But when we found out that they were wanting basically to have that data, I said no. That doesn't belong to them. That belongs to the person that is getting their blood work done. And so I was not willing to sell our integrity for $1. So
I love that. And I imagine there was some pushback from the insurance company whenever
when I first started the company, again, insurance brokers and insurance companies were the ones calling me the most. Now it's a complete opposite. Companies are calling me the most. And I never hear from insurance companies, of course, and I'll hear from insurance brokers. But there's a lot of companies that are self-insured. So, I get a lot of those type of scenarios because they're self-insured. They're not reliant on an insurance company.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
Um,
it's extremely interesting. I just always love whenever cybersecurity data protection merges with a lot of these situations that we wouldn't normally think about, right? You're like, oh yeah, like okay, it's like everyone gets insurance, right? Okay, all right, right. But then you sign up for insurance, you don't kind of realize the type of things people can learn about you just from data points and building a profile. I used to be an ethical hacker. And so, we would have this idea of open source intelligence. And so if I'm trying to build a profile, right, on you, there's a lot, especially you can grab just like on the web and then start looking at like location-based stuff, but you can basically build up this profile with just open source data points, right? Public records, right? A lot of people aren't even aware what their kind of digital footprint looks like. And so that's where you see a lot of manipulation going on the internet these days. And then the whole, oh man, we haven't even gotten into the like AI deepfakes conversation yet, but that's gonna be fun. That'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
But sorry, go ahead.
But so insurance companies, like if you have insurance and you go to a doctor to get your blood work done and so on forth, and the insurance companies pay for it. Again, they have that information. So anytime you use that card, that data the insurance has. So if you remotely think that you have something really bad like cancer or whatever the case may be, it's probably better to pay out of pocket to find out prior to letting the insurance companies know, because then now you basically are going to get a stickler the following year with your insurance policy. And also when it comes to them having that data, they again can sell the data. So
Data exchanges.
yeah, and
And
the
that's
insurance,
that's legal.
yeah, it is
Yeah.
legal, and they have if you notice that insurance companies, they always pay for testing. They will pay for all your testing, but let's just say you did a test and you find out you have cancer. When it comes to actually be taking care of the actual problem, then you're fighting tooth and nail to get them to do that. But because they want data, but they don't want to solve the problem. So
Totally.
I think the
That's
funniest one
bad.
that was just, yeah,
That's
the
bad
funniest one.
business. That's bad business when people start healing,
But the crazy one that I heard recently was when somebody needed like a liver transplant, and of course they found somebody, or they found somebody that was going to be able to do that. They would pay for, if you had it, they would pay for you for your surgery, but they're not going to pay to get it out of that person to put it in you. So,
Right.
because
Oh man.
that's funny though.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. Sorry, Darren, I kind of cut you off earlier, buddy. Did you have something?
No, I kind of forgot what I was gonna say, but I'm curious. There's a lot of, gosh, this year has been a intense year of negative and or mostly negative things surrounding the healthcare system, and a lot of big headlines in general. I think one thing this morning that just popped up was the governmental hold, and how essentially it's coming down to, and I don't really have much of a sense for politics, but how it applies to healthcare, that the Democrats don't want to get rid of Obamacare, and the Republicans are wanting to change it in some sort of aspect, and that's why this hold is continuing, because of mostly because of that. And I don't know too much about Obamacare in general, but it has been a crazy year for just the whole health insurance aspect, because as you dig more into it, it just seems like less people are being taken care of, right? It seems like it's more towards
It's more like a money laundering
Yeah.
than anything else. But the Democrats are wanting the Obamacare. There was a bill that was passed during COVID that basically covered non-insurance, and which part of that non-insurance were people that are not even Americans. And so Democrats want to, and once COVID was over, they the bill was supposed to go away and go back to normal, but Democrats want it to stay on there because their base is illegal immigrants, which is the reason why they're wanting a bunch of illegal immigrants here, so that they have voters and trying to get them to vote. So
I'll have in a world where there's plenty of distrust, I guess you could say, what's been your approach and maybe how it's changed from earning trust from your clients and individuals, and how you've been able to keep that as well.
Oh, we might have missed her. Go ahead and repeat that, Darren.
Well, I was just saying, it's just, we live in a world of distrust, and unfortunately, and in some aspects, right? So as we're talking about that, I'm curious, what's been your approach to earning and keeping that trust with employers or individuals or just anyone in your everyday space?
Just being straightforward and being honest, regardless if they don't like the answer. I have I lost business because of that? Yeah, but um, I I I rather my reputation is better. It means more to me than how you feel about what I have to say. So I rather be honest about it. And there was for example, there was an HR for a bank that um, she would the one I had a relationship with a prior HR there, and then she left, and somebody came in, and this particular lady just for whatever reason did not like me, did not want to use business, do business with me, and there was somebody that was doing something that I do that she was like quote best friends with basically, and so she was using that person. And then years go by, and I'm talking like 5 years. And this lady, because my philosophy is that, as far as with HRs, is that if they say no to me, I just wait them out because I'm not leaving, I'm not going anywhere. There's going to be a new HR coming in anyway. So
I love it.
apparently there was something that happened between them, and I got a call from her. So I was kind of like, wow. I met with her, and she was. Politically nice, and so we started doing programs for them. And she had built a relationship with a provider that provided flu shots, so she wanted them to provide the flu shots. And I told her that's fine if you want them to, but we've had bad experiences with them. They don't show up on time, they don't show up at all, or they're understaffed when they come, blah blah blah. And sure enough, when the health fair happened and we're doing the flu shots, um, she walks up to me. She goes, "Where are they? Where's the?" And I said, "I didn't schedule them. You did because you wanted them to be there." And I said, "We could have provided them for you, and we're here. But and all the providers are here except for the one that you were insistent on having." And so and apparently she got in trouble with the president of the bank. So from that point on, we took care of their flu shots, and we still do to this very day. And that's been
Mm.
Oh,
over
nice.
15 years.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
There you
super
go.
impressive. Going back to this kind of data and sensitivity, we had we kind of had a breach with one of our. So we when I was in the wedding business, we had all of our employees and all of our like computers on site. Had this program that it would we had an external IT monitor all of our computers. However, this person was logging on to their home computer that didn't have this software downloaded, and logging on to our into their business items, and
Wow.
because they do a bunch of different things on their, like, download different softwares on their home computer, whether it's like gaming software or whatever the fuck it is. Someone was able to enter into their work email. So
Wow.
my employer's work email had all of the this is like the most cliche number one go-to. If any person can go into their Gmail, look at if there's any email forwarding and see who it's being forwarded to. And so this person went in there, changed the email forwarding to this specific email. So, and this is something you don't normally look at all, or it's a lot. Maybe people don't even know this exists, but they had it forward, all these emails being forwarded. So this happened like 4 months ago, and then the problem happened, like 4 months later. And what they were doing is just constantly reading emails, just seeing what this flow was like. And then when perfect opportunity came about, which was a client was ready to pay for their wedding, they went to pay for their wedding, and this person jumped in and said, "These are the bank details." And this person's, and it looked like it was coming from my employer's email, and they sent about $30,000 to this bank, to this random bank. Luckily, they had. I caught it because it didn't hit within like 12 hours or something, and mentioned it to them. And luckily, we were able. It was like in enough time to where the banks could get it back. But heaven forbid things like this happen. So, yeah. So I'm curious, has anything like this happened to you? Maybe not on this scale. Maybe just something as very small. Things are I feel like things, especially in Gmails or in emails or whatever it may be, are happening more frequent, at least from what I hear in my realm. So I'm curious if anything has happened with you.
Not business wise, but personally it did. I had lost my phone, and I placed my phone on my car and ran back into the house, and then I jumped in the car and took off. So my phone was on my car and it flew off somewhere. And
I've done that several times.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, what ended
Know
up
that one well.
Yeah.
yeah. So I of course I didn't think about it, and then all of a sudden, a few many hours later, I was like, "Where's my phone?" And I couldn't figure out where in the world that was. And it was my husband called the phone, and some random person answered it saying they found it. And so by the time I got it back, I wasn't thinking of anything of it until a day later. I started getting notifications from my bank saying that big chunks of money was being taken out. And what happened? Whoever got a hold of it basically went on my Cash App and was taking money out of my bank, converting it into Bitcoin, and throwing it and sending it somewhere.
Wow.
So they kept doing this. They started small, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And finally, my bank was like, something's going on, and they stopped accepting it. And so that's when I got the notifications. And so they worked on getting some of it back, but they weren't able to get all of it back.
Yeah, once it converts into Bitcoin and it goes on the
Exactly.
blockchain, right?
It's
It's
fine.
like, all right, later.
That's why I deal with other countries as well too, as far as supplies and so forth, and other countries they're like, do you do Bitcoin? I'm like, no, I
Yeah.
do not do Bitcoin. No.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
smart.
that is super interesting as we head into the just cryptocurrency and that entire way. Because I mean, I do see the intrigue of like being able to send payments internationally without having to pay for the jumping fees from banks along the way and stuff like that. But then you also go, okay, how do you how do you how do you have traceability in the situations where
Exactly.
you need it? But we're also seeing that with private messaging, right? And
Mhm.
Meta and WhatsApp and encryption. And it's like, okay, whenever we're trying to do, I always kind of lean towards the privacy side of stuff. I think human beings have like a right to that. But obviously there's always going to be
Yes.
good and evil applications of technology no matter what. Right. Like it's not that's what I like about on the cybersecurity side is like we feel like we're fighting a war, but no, seriously, like we literally feel like we're fighting like a war, like and it's like and it's a war where there's no winner ever.
Mhm.
Like no one wins. Like you just it's just
Yeah, pew, 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 pew.
it's just constant and it's just always going to be there over good versus evil applications of changing technology. That's pretty much it.
Well, I know what
That's cool.
anytime that you come up with something to stop them, they just get
Yeah.
smarter and think of something new.
Yeah.
It's true. But with that being said, guys, this goes out to our audience. Lenore, this goes out to you too. You guys can check out a free pilot of our email and collaboration suite protection. It's on top of Office 365, Google Workspace, and will help prevent account takeovers, like Darien mentioned, phishing emails, spam, business email compromise, all that good stuff. So feel free to reach out to us.
That includes does that include scoped automation in that?
So as far as like the way we have like our system set up is, let's say, Darien, that you're logging into our Naptic Google Workspace, right? And you've been bouncing around a bunch, so it's starting to pinpoint different stuff, but over time it's learning that you're traveling and it's all feasible, right? Well, what if like you were here in the US and you logged in from Asheville, and then 3 hours later we see you log in from Arizona, and then like 2 hours after that all of a sudden you're logging in from California, and we detected that the browser that you used is what's called a headless browser, meaning it's something that scripts would use, not like a real person would necessarily use it. So we'll automatically lock your account out. It'll send a notification to our dedicated cybersecurity team that's overlooking your organization. And then we'd follow up with you with instructions on how to reset your password, all that kind of stuff. And basically it prevents anyone immediately from getting in and doing God knows what after they have your Google Workspace and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally. It's one of, I feel like
so automation from that side of it is tied in.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm in the cybersecurity world, and I was never one, Lenore, especially I was never one to. I never knew any of that space in general. It just wasn't my expertise. I'm aware of it. I know it's going on, yada yada. But it seems, just as an entrepreneur, I guess I'm just into just business, grinding, crushing. And last thing on my mind is like something
crushing.
something's. I guess never crossed my mind that something bad's gonna happen, right? From someone like entering into my realm of secure, what I think is secured space until it happens. And it's crazy because it's never like it's interesting because like maybe you don't have security cameras at your house and then you get security cameras after someone breaks in, right? And it's just that's like the simplest form to put it. But I never really knew how important it was until someone sent $30,000 to some random person in wherever the fuck they were located. And so it's just so interesting because you don't want to be that. You don't want to wait until something happen,
And what if you've worked so hard and it's like your first major client or something, and then they're not able to get it back, and you're like, okay, damn, like I don't have any options. And I wasn't thinking about this. So I didn't get cyber insurance. I wasn't even privy to it. And then all of a sudden your dream, your baby is going to be taken from you without you. It's like the worst possible situation. And I've seen it come up more times than I'd like to admit, if I'm going to be honest with you.
What do y'all think? What do y'all think about because I see the commercial all the time in regards to somebody taking your home, your title of your home, and then using it against using it the equity for money, and then also you're like, I didn't do a loan. And so how does that work? I mean, what is that about?
Yeah, I'm not quite following what the thing is, but
yeah, I think that's basically stealing someone's identity. And basically what they'll do is when you steal someone's identity, you're able to take the title of their home, go to a bank, apply for a loan, and maybe your home's free and clear. They'll give you up to 90 or 80% loan to value. The 80% untaxed, and it's direct wire to an account. I mean, it would take a lot to get to. You would have to have they would have to have a lot of your information, and it's obviously very possible. But that's definitely some things that
nowadays it's easy to get all your information.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
give me 45 minutes. Give me 45 minutes.
Yeah. All you have to do is drive off with your phone on the hood, right?
Exactly. It's true.
Simple as that. Yeah, it's super important. I think as businesses grow, obviously, like when you start a business, you're probably in the negatives, whatever. You probably don't have that many clients. You're not talking to that many people. And as your business grows, the bank account's growing, the amount of information you have coming in is growing, and it's the umbrella just continues to grow, and that is when ideally you're protecting from the beginning, but at different stages of your business, I think it's worth reevaluating. At least personally, I think it's worth reevaluating what is being protected, what's not being protected, where there's just getting evaluated and see what's up. I think it's important.
Yeah, just understanding your data. What is it? Where is it? What is it? Where is it? Those two simple questions will go a long way.
Yeah, fair enough.
I was gonna have more questions, but I was like, those two. That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah. that leads you down a rabbit hole from those two questions easily.
I would, dude. there was a rabbit hole.
You stopped yourself, I could tell.
Dude, I stopped myself from going down the rabbit hole 100%. I got you. Well, cool. Well, guys, as we kind of transition to the back part of the podcast, I wanted to kind of finish up with. So, Lenore, what do you guys got coming up that you're excited about? But also, if you could go back, 15 years down the road, right? Or kind of sit down with your younger self. What is something that you'd tell her, and maybe that other founders, I don't know, just what's something that you'd tell her, maybe something that you wish you had known about and you want other founders or health entrepreneurs to stop doing or be aware of or anything like that.
I always say yes. I mean, that's number one. Always say yes, because you learn from saying yes. You end up having regrets from saying no, and you don't grow from saying no. So if most people say no out of fear or thinking that they don't know, they don't have the knowledge for whatever is being asked, but that's when it gives you the opportunity to find the knowledge. So
Right.
with yes, you have those opportunities. That's the number one thing that I would say, because I've never regretted saying yes. So that's
Love that.
pretty much it. In fact,
Love that. Darien.
when I was asked to write a book in regards to leadership, it was about yes. It was about saying yes and giving examples of what grew from that saying yes. And so, and I actually dedicated to my husband. And I said he was the best yes I ever said.
Love that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's beautiful.
Darien, anything from you, man? If you could go back and tell your younger self something about the journey and different stuff like that, what's something that you'd say?
I always grew up in this mindset that based off of outside influences, that partnerships aren't necessarily the way to go in business. And that probably was from a lot of outside noise, having bad partnerships in whatever sort of sense. And what I've grown to know is that partnerships can take you a long way. I've been going to, in these different countries, a lot of these huge businesses are, this partner partnering up with this partner that partners up with this partner, and they end up meeting two other people that want to join in, and they create these multi-million-dollar businesses that are absolutely out of this world. And it takes a lot of teamwork in those high strength partnerships to create something this big, especially if you're going into a space that you don't know. And I'm not saying that get into partnerships with everybody. I'm just saying that the power of partnerships are worth looking into, and I think that's super important, because before it got it was all the approach that I took allowed me to create my own set of values as an entrepreneur, because it was all in some sort of capacity myself leading myself, and I think just as growth happens, being introduced to so many different sectors and so many different types of businesses, and where you really, 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 truly want to be in life, I think takes a lot of partnerships. So I would say just be more open-minded to that versus closed off to those things. And that's kind of where my headspace is. If you ask me that question every single day of the week from now until the day I die, it'd be a different one. I tell you a different one.
I love it. I like the partnerships too, because it's interesting on that. Like, I know, like, my mom, she's a small business owner. She's known a tennis and swim club in San Antonio called Green Tree Tennis Club for 35 plus years.
Mhm.
And in her pursuit, she was like, we're not going to do any partnerships, because as soon as you start bringing partnerships into a kind of more traditional physical business, where, I don't know, it seems a little I don't know, it's just interesting hearing her standpoint, but then I've also found a lot of joy and success in the partnerships game too, kind of on, as we've been building out Naptic and then on the cybersecurity side too. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting point there. I like the partnerships. I think if I'm going back and I think if I'm telling myself a certain amount of being naive is good, right? Because it allows you just to like not completely know what you're getting into and just go for it, and you'll figure it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also, yeah, just like realizing it's like, hey, like get in there, go for it. Know that you're not going to have everything figured out, and that's all right, And just you keep iterating, and the first year and a half, 2 years is a lot of like,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, you kind of take a half step forward and then, and you're just, and then all of a sudden you just kind of start, you hit that certain, you overcome the level 1 knowledge and obstacles. And then only by spending time at that level 1 can you start getting the building blocks to the next levels and being more efficient. But yeah, if you're not grounded, man, if you're not grounded and passionate about what you're doing, you're gonna fade off pretty quickly, right? Which is okay sometimes, right? Like I said, it's like it's all good, But if you're gonna go the entrepreneur route, you better do it because you really, really care about what you're doing, or else you'll never make it,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I could take that because, for instance, for the wedding venue business, I love throwing events. I don't necessarily love being a part of a wedding venue business. I love the being a part of events. And I saw just a light at the end of the tunnel, a part of being with weddings. And yeah, I as life slowly started to move forward, I realized like investing in things that I love and will be around and places that I love going will end up creating a life cycle, a healthy life cycle for me that will never really feel like work, because you're going to places you like going, you're doing the things that you like doing, you're talking about the things that you like to talk about. So basically, you're just at the end of the day, you just end up living life, and then you just happen to be making money at the end of the day.
Exactly.
That.
It's just wild. But Lenore, you have a very interesting business. I love how you kind of came into it from the divorce aspect. It's absolutely beautiful. I think there's life never seems to be over, no matter how many hurdles you have to jump through, and that shows a lot about your resilience. And shout out to you for pushing through that, turning a negative situation to a positive situation and finding love again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So it's been a good life. I have to admit that.
Love that. Well, awesome. Lenore, thank you so much for sharing your story and, for doing the hard work, building something that, that helps people, not just physically, right? But I also appreciate as a cybersecurity professional and someone that really prioritizes that. I want to say thank you for keeping your morals as a business owner digitally as well. That's something that we need some more of. So that's it for today's episode.
But don't forget to send me an email, because I wanted to connect you with my husband, because remember, I think I mentioned to one of y'all about that he works for the government. Doesn't work for the government, but works with the government. And there's a lot going on in that realm that you are in right now.
100%. No, 100%. Yeah, and I appreciate the reminder. I'll definitely be able to, be sure to do that. That's a very interesting space going on these days. Yeah, it's just, interesting. It's a fun, challenging times, guys, but it's,
there's opportunity in it.
There's opportunity there. That's the word. That's the word. Well, I got you. Well, hey guys, that's it for today's episode. Lenore, thank you again so much. It was a joy having you on. And guys, if this sparks something in you, share it with a friend. If you're building something small, if you're building something scrappy, if you want to just get on and shoot the entrepreneurial spirit with us. We'd love to hear about it. But yeah, Lenore, thank you again for
Thank you,
taking
Bob.
time this morning.
Thank you.